looks like 2025, we're going to be in a recession if we are not already in a recession. So first thing I want to remind everybody, please don't panic. Try to stay calm through this. There's a few things that you can actually do to help yourself. If you're able to at the moment, pick up extra hours now. It might not be available in the near future, so try to use that to help build an emergency fund. Try to get, an extra couple of months worth of money set aside. That way, if you do lose your job, you have a bit of a cushion and it's not an instant panic. The other one right now, I know a lot of people, they'll look to quit a job. They'll think it's as easy as it was a year or two ago. It's no longer the case. It's very difficult to still find jobs. I'm getting reports from a lot of people that I know, as well as from the channel, that have been looking for work for several months, or they've recently gotten laid off. Layoffs are increasing at the moment, so don't leave a job unless you have a new one lined up. So what is a recession? Now, this has kind of changed the term over the last couple of years. It used to always be if you had 2 consecutive quarters of negative real GDP growth, but now people want to add to that real GDP growth and unemployment, real income, manufacturing, things like that. So let's take, for example, the most recent quarterly information. We will get December, but that's not going to be until 2025 when we get that information. So GDP growth for second quarter, we were looking at a plus 3% annual GDP growth. Quarter 3, we were looking at a plus 2.8% GDP growth. Now CPI, this includes energy, food, things like that are very volatile. So sometimes you'll hear CPI, sometimes they'll talk about CPI core. They'll use this number if it's lower to make it look better. This is excluding food and energy. But a couple of these months, effectively, gasoline prices came down for a short period of time. So then CPI looked better than CPI core. So then they started using the CPI numbers rather than the CPI core numbers. These are from the June and September numbers. There's something called the SAM rule. This is from Claudia. She looked at this in 2019, came up with a real fancy rule. It's simple, it's accurate. So this triggers whenever you have greater than 0.5% increase in unemployment in a 3-month moving average of this current year compared to the 3-month moving average of the prior year. This is a good indication that you're currently in a recession. This is usually going to show you when you're in the start of a recession. You're not going to know that you're in a recession until the government tells you you're in a recession, 6 months later. This has been right every time. There was one time in 1959 it triggered, it was like 0.6, and we didn't have a recession until about a year later in 1960, but it was pretty close. Every year since that, anytime we've had a recession, this rule would have been triggered. So our unemployment rate went from 3.4%, we went up to a high of 4.3%, and then we've kind of trailed down to a 4.1% in October numbers. We're waiting this week for additional information to see if this has crept back up. And with the job hiring numbers, it was also kind of funny because 40,000 jobs were actually added in the government, not in the private sector, and total jobs were only increased by 12,000. So if you take the government jobs away, we actually had loss of jobs, not gain of jobs. There may be some impact if, government jobs are lost with the new administration to show there's probably going to be significant job loss in the government. And just so we're clear, it doesn't matter who won the election. We were going to go into a recession anyway, whether it was going to be a Republican or Democrat or independent, it doesn't really matter. Recessions come and go every so many years, and the thing is, anytime you try to change fiscal policy or you increase or decrease interest rates, it's going to take 12, 18 months to actually have an impact. So whatever's been done, a year ago is still going to impact whoever's in power. So there's the jolts. This has been showing a decreasing number of job openings. The reason why people were able to get higher incomes for a period of time over the last couple of years is there was basically 2 job openings for every 1 person that was looking for a job. Now we got about 1.1 job per person that's actually unemployed or looking for a job. So as this decreases, this is going to become even harder to get a job. So again, don't leave your job without a new one lined up. The U.S. manufacturing, PMI, it's been below 50. Anything below 50 means there's a reduction in U.S. manufacturing. So then this has been on decline for many months. So that also goes to this. Looks like we're heading into a recession if we're not already in one. The 10 and 2-year yield curve has been uninverted since August of 2024. If you look at the data, effectively just prior to a recession, the yield curve typically uninverts. The Fed funds rate is currently at 4.5 to 4.75%. I have a prediction that we're going to see either a 0 to a 0.25% rate cut December 18th, 2024. So it's maybe a 30% chance of 0% rate cut and they take a pause, and it's a higher likelihood of a 0.25% rate cut in this December meeting for the FOMC. Again, don't panic. Typical recessions, they typically last about 8 months on average. The shortest one was in 2020 at 2 months. The longest one we've had since World War II has been 18 months, and that was in 2009 roughly. The unemployment rate, the average is maybe about 8% unemployment, so it typically ranges during a recession from 6 to 14% in those time periods. So think about it. If some recessions you only see 6 or 8%, that means over 92% of people are still employed. Even during the 2020 recession, with 14% unemployment, 85% of people still stayed employed. So keep that in perspective. So what am I doing through this? Well, I'm keeping invested. I'm going to dollar cost average. Every time I get paid, I still invest into the stock market. I hold 6 months plus of an emergency fund. I'm going to keep that in high yield savings. Those savings are going to keep dropping as the Fed fund rate goes down. So right now it's about 4% I can get for an emergency fund and high yield savings. I did lock in a bunch of CDs on short terms under 11 months, and those are, about 5%. So regardless of what happens here for the next, 10 months or so, I'll still be getting, 4.5%, 5% on those CDs. And make sure that they're in FDIC accounts or accounts held by FDIC banks and covered by that. The other key thing to do, no matter what's going on, keep learning in-demand marketable skills. The more you know, the more skills you have, the more possibilities and options you have. If you lost a job or if a new role comes up and you want to move up in position, having those new skills can be beneficial. 5, I'm going to keep networking and helping others. Now, when I say networking, I don't mean when something bad happens, you just start calling all these people that you never really talked to and asking them for help. That's not the time to start networking. You want to network basically by making friends with a bunch of people that you can help. Help them out, and maybe one day they can help you as well. But it really shouldn't be just about you. It should be you trying to provide something of value to somebody else. So make friends, see how you can help each other out, and in the end, that will be more beneficial long term. And don't try to be like, I'll only do this if I get something in return, because you can see right through those people, and those are the people you don't really feel like helping. And then during a downturn, those are the people that stay unemployed, and it doesn't work out too well. Also, for awareness, I'll probably buy a couple of put options. So what are put options? Effectively, if a stock goes below a certain price, basically a strike price, I can put that onto somebody, which means I can force somebody to buy it at that price, even if the stock has gone way below that price. And it costs some amount of premium, and there's contracts involved. There's more information on this channel about that, but effectively it protects me from downside risk while still allowing me to hold all of my stocks, so that if the stocks go up, the put becomes worthless, but I don't have to worry during a recession or a downturn. So I may be doing that in the near future for 2025. If you're interested in learning more about how to make more money, how to save money on taxes, how to be an entrepreneur, start new businesses, things like that, please subscribe. This is a channel for you. I talk about a lot of economic information and then practical ideas of how you can actually make more money. All right, well, thank you. Please subscribe. Have a great day.